Yo.
There he is.
Hello.
There he is.
Cracking?
What's going on?
What's poppin', buddy?
I'm fellas. Good to see you guys. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Pretty good. How you been, man? It's been a long time, man. I don't know
bro.
when was the last time I talked to you, but I'm excited to shoot the shit with you again, man. How you been?
Yeah, it's probably been like a year or something like that now, right?
Fuck yeah. Yeah. It's
Been
been a
like
year.
since like February of 2020, pre-COVID.
Yeah. It was
Oh,
like
yeah.
Right before COVID happened.
That literally was like
Yeah.
maybe no, not even weeks. It was maybe a week before COVID happened that we shot
Dude,
the video for
It was
Space
crazy
Cadets.
because I was at a friend's house as we were done with the video in New York. I was at somebody's house there, and they're talking about how his girlfriend who he lived with, and she was there. She was like, my flight got canceled today.
Recording
to
in
Germany.
progress.
And it was like this moment of like all these people I knew were like, yeah, man, all my jobs are getting canceled. I'm like, that's interesting. I thought this was kind of like it's just like the little flu. Nah, I got back to LA in time, bro. Because like I feel like if I was there a week or 2 weeks later, I feel like everything would have gone to shit.
Oh, absolutely. Word. Let me introduce the podcast real quickly, Jake. So welcome to episode 72 of the Grindhouse Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Cabrera, aka Steady Eddie. To the right of me is my homie, Chris Martin, aka Critta.
Word, guys. Real quick before we get into today's episode, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It definitely helps
Smash
us
that
out.
like button.
Definitely smash that like button. And also, if you want to support us, you can buy some merch. We have a bunch of merch on our store. You can go to grindhouse.store. All right, let's get into today's episode.
So we have a special guest on today's pod. Is actually a really good friend of ours. This man is a very talented DP. I've gotten the opportunity to work with him on a few music videos, a couple films. He is right now based in LA. Our boy Jake Mitchell. Jake, how you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? Thanks for guys. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with y'all. Excited to be on here. You know, I've watched you guys. I've seen you guys have some awesome artists on here. You know, people I know, people that I respect. So it's really cool to be on here.
I actually wanted to get you on way earlier. Like I totally like. There was a moment where I like, oh, we should hit up Jake at this point, because there was a moment where I really wanted to focus on just like outside of musicians, like the people in hip hop that actually like help promote the industry as a whole. Because I feel like videographers, cinematographers, like they do a lot in promoting an artist. Because an artist, but you hear about them. You may they may pop off on SoundCloud. They may pop off before they start shooting anything. But I think the music video element of any artist is a very important element in terms of promoting them. And so it's been a long time coming, but I'm glad you're here because I want to talk about the shit that you've been working on. You've been doing some big shit with some big artists. So can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, dude, that's one thing that's amazed me so far because I've been in Los Angeles for like over 2.5 years now, almost going on 3. And like you learn, especially out here, that like there's so much work to be done in music videos. There's work all the time. They keep pumping them out. And it's like, people want to make content all the time, especially in hip hop. And you get some interesting levels, to music videos. You get some people are like they come to me like on set, like, yo, what do you charge for a video? I'm like, well, I don't charge, like my boss does, like, and then you get stuff where you're just like, it's, you get everything from like a $2,000 video to like a $60K, like huge set build video with like bigger artists and stuff like that. So the levels and range to it is crazy, man. But I feel like it's, I don't know really who watches music videos nowadays. I know some people are big into it, and I feel like there's a lot of great content out there that's always being made by people like, artists who really pride themselves in having good visuals. But for as much as I'm shooting music videos, man, they must be popular.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, especially like other artists, are always looking at artists' music. People in the industry are looking at people's music videos because especially when you have a good one, you get the sense of who the artist is. Like it builds character. They, especially with certain artists, and I'm sure you can speak to this also. Like they have a certain aesthetic, and they want to keep that aesthetic.
Absolutely.
They want to keep that. Whatever that aura that they've created, so their videos tend to look a certain way, whether it be like a really tough looking artist. So he's never gonna try to look a little, he's probably not gonna wear pink, on the video shoot. Maybe he will, who knows? Cameron does. So there's
Cameron,
one artist.
Yeah, you get pink like Cameron.
But even like, well, the thing too is just like people that are like in the music industry, they also look at those videos to see like how professional that artist is, you know. So it's always like a good gauge of. So obviously, like, you want your shit to look good.
Was there an artist? Sorry, Jake. Was there an artist growing up that like a music video? Well, actually, more of a music video director or cinematographer that you really enjoyed?
Not really, man. I think I was mostly into, you know, that's kind of, you know, I'm definitely like a narrative guy. That's where my head's at. And like, even now I'm kind of shifting out of music videos a little bit. And I didn't really get in. It was crazy when I was in college and I was like shooting a bunch of short films and commercials, and I was shooting a ton of documentaries. I was like, man, I would just like to get a music video under my belt. You know, I would just like to do that. Because it's just like, you know, it seems like there's a lot of great music videos out there. It seems like a really fun world to be in. Now here I am, and I'm like, oh my God, I've got way too many music videos in my hand. So I look up to, not necessarily, but like, I don't know. I just remember just like binging, you know, like Lil Wayne music videos, like, you know, Drake music videos. I mean, just Snoop Dogg. Like, I mean, I think growing up is a huge part of like culture and stuff like that. And I remember in middle school when Drake was kind of like on his first blow up, and like, you know, Young Money, Cash Money records and all that stuff, and like them blowing up. That's what I remember watching a lot of. And that kind of like, I don't know, it was, you look back and watch it now and you're like, that stuff was low budget. Like, you know, to someone who doesn't know like the techniques and like the things behind filmmaking, you know, they may not realize what the budget of a video is, you know. And I even go now on music videos I've shot that have like 6-7 million views, and I read the comments. I'm just like, this is so weird that like something I did is like a bunch of random people are seeing it, and what they're saying about it. It's just kind of funny because you're just like kind of disconnected from the people who are actually watching it, and you wonder, like, it's kind of weird to think about the life of a music video and how, especially for me, I'm not a director. You know, sometimes I'll direct, but I'm not really a director. So I don't feel like I'm like, you know, the author of a music video. Sometimes I feel like I'm just kind of like, you know, show up, I shoot it, I'm done. And then, you know, it goes somewhere. And it's just funny to see the shelf life, or like where those things go, and how people react to them. Or, you know, like my friends, I shot a music video, I directed a music video, and one of my friends was watching it on their Instagram, on their story. And I was like, he sent it to me and like, hey dude, they're watching your music. I was like, what? What's the connection? You know, so it's funny to see that loop. But yeah, I don't know. I was like, music videos are such an interesting experimental visual medium where you get such a wide range of artists. You get the Nicki Minaj's, you know, you get those where it's just formulaic crap that throws some money at it, you know. But then you get like some real interesting people who are doing, you know, really interesting storytelling with visuals, like Joyner Lucas.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
he's a sick example.
Shout out to Joyner. Joyner's from our neck of the woods. He's from Worcester, Mass. So shout out to Joyner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's from Worcester?
Yes.
Yeah. He's doing big shit.
Yeah. He's the
dude,
pride.
I mean, like,
I'd say right now for Boston hip hop, like for Massachusetts hip hop, he's definitely got it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the biggest thing I've heard out of there, other than like Cousin Spiz or something, maybe. Yep. But yeah, you know, his music videos are great because I mean, you know, his are like, you can, I think what sometimes he writes for the video. You know, when he's like songwriting, producing, I feel like sometimes he's got like that visual mind. But you know, and also like ASAP Rocky, you know, that whole Augie, that whole set of people, and like how they visualized a lot of their work, both on music videos, but also with merchandising, branding, fashion products. You know, they have a whole thing there. So I think, yeah, there's just so much to be like taken from the beauty and the experimentation of music videos. And I feel like it's very fresh. And when you're in the right position, I feel like with the right group of people or creators or artists, I feel like you can make some really amazing and unique stuff that is, I think, has like artistic value in its own right, and can be, you know, inspiring in its own right.
Can you talk a little bit about like how you collaborate with artists? Like I've seen you like work with like Space Cadets, and like your relationship with them is great. Do you want to just talk about like how you like foster those sort of relationships?
Yeah, I think that's honestly what I've learned about with a lot of directors, especially in hip hop, is sometimes a director may not be that great of a person. They may not have a great work ethic. They may not even be that creative. But sometimes if they can chop it up with artists, sometimes that's why they get hired. You know, I've met a couple people where I'm kind of like, you know, I didn't understand their gig until I saw them on set with like, you know, some high up talent where they can like really chop it up with them and relate to them and shit like that. So I feel like that's, you know, it is huge to have that, like that relationship with the artist, I think sometimes, because, you know, for me as a cinematographer, it's a little different when I'm just a DP, where I'm a bit of a technician. I kind of come and go, you know, sometimes the artist, I've shot like, it's funny. There's some artists I'll shoot for. It's not until like the third time I shoot with them, they know my name. You know, it's like, you know, like YG does not know my name, bro. Like I've been around that dude so much. He probably has no idea who I am. But as a director though, I think it's huge because whenever I think for me, directing is weird because I haven't like defined it and how I want to do it. Cause I've talked with some people who want to do videos, and I'm a little more selective just because all the stuff I've seen as a DP of directors and labels and artists, I've learned what I like and don't like about the music video world and the hip hop, you know, I guess the music industry in general. And it's usually like weird timelines, you know, stuff not making any sense. People kind of like making these rules and restrictions off of no good reason. You know, usually it's like some sort of blue tape chain of command type of thing. But usually for me, the most important connection is like, you know, a lot of the times when I'm working with people for music videos, it's kind of like, hey man, like you do your thing. Like, you know, I'd love to see what you think about the song. We're thinking, you know, here's our brand image, right? You know, most people have sort of an image around them that is generally good to follow. You know, you don't want like, you know, the Space Cadets don't want like a Lambo and like strippers, you know what I mean? It's like, that's not the vibe. But some people, that's the vibe. And you know, you just got to kind of know, what people are looking for, you know, and make something that I think represents them well. But for me, when I'm working a lot of the time, I like to have a lot of freedom, creative freedom. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen like music video deadlines where it's like, this edit is due tomorrow. Like we need it tomorrow. And then it releases in a month. Like, and then you're like, why was that so rushed? Now it's like, there's so much wrong with it. We could have done so much better. So for me, I think like, it's a big trust on like letting me do my thing a little bit, but making sure at the same time I'm communicating with them like, hey, I'm doing my thing. You know, you can trust me, but here's what you're going to get. Here's what I'm planning on doing. I think it's important in that, right? But also, you know, I think the people I work with, I just enjoy like people who are doing, you know, just good people, you know, who are just doing good stuff, making good music, have good intentions. And yeah, I think that's for me is the biggest part. It's just people I can relate to and people who I think have like some artistry to them. Cause I can't tell you how many people I've turned down videos for out here where I'm just like, I don't know, bro. They're like, there's just no like passion or soul in it, you know?
Yeah.
They're not, I don't know. I couldn't tell why they're, you know, they're probably just trying to cut a check and, you know, make it bigger, some shit like that.
Exactly. So. Something like that. You know, I would say in terms of what I appreciate and love about you is, number one, I feel like you're a great communicator. So I can absolutely, like, you know, you're somebody I love to work with just because we communicate well, and I think you excel in that. You know, just like you communicate well with your crew. Everybody knows what they're doing, and that just makes the working environment so much easier when you have that. In terms of the visuals, what I love about you is I think that you're my favorite when it comes to moving the camera around. I love your work. You know, I love you in action also. Like, I don't know how much BTS you have of just you kind of like moving the camera around, because like you literally, like, every cameraman obviously becomes one with the camera when they're shooting. But like when I look, we were just watching the YG video, the bumped into Oak Park. And, you know, but it's evident there. It's evident in all your work. I was watching the 24K Golden video also, same thing. Like, you have like a great way of moving the camera around. A lot of the videos I see, especially from amateur you know, videographers, DPs, whatever, is like, you know, they do the same motion over and over again, and that's kind of like the thing that they're doing. But like, you really find different ways of integrating movement, whether it be working with me, Steadicam, or, you know, doing a multitude of different things. So I wanted to talk about just like your visual eye when it comes to that, the movement of shots, and also when it comes to the mixed formatting of shooting film and digital, because I've noticed that's also a constant theme in your music videos.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of my friends, like I have a couple first ACs out here, first assistant cameras pulling focus for me, who they call me like the king of handheld sometimes, which I'm like, it's slowly going to my head. I need to like rein it back a little bit because multiple people were like, yo, your handheld work is great. And like, I definitely pride myself on that. I think like it's all from just like endless hours of operating handheld. Cause like, I mean, I've been shooting for a long time, but, probably almost like shooting handheld, like 9-10 years. And I was in a documentary for like a whole summer, like in an easy rig with a handheld camera, like all over the place. So, I'm definitely like at one with that. And honestly, like the key to that for me is that just like, when a playback is going on set with a song, I just get into it. I just kind of like move my body to the music, kind of help let that dictate it, and just kind of like try to see where the artist is going and sort of counteract that or move in a certain way that like is interesting with them, whether that's with them or like against them. If they're going left, I'm going right, kind of get that more of that action. And I think a lot of that has the crazy handheld just kind of comes from like, I just know that, a lot of these videos I show up and it's a little last minute. It's not a big budget. There's not a real like treatment sometimes. So I just know that like they just need value. They need it to look as valuable as possible. You just got to show up and make the most dope out of your given scenario. And sometimes that like, you get hit the day before and you're just like, all right, if it looks cool, I'm just going to go for it sometimes. So the handheld helps with cutting, having, Steadicam also helps with cutting, and stuff like that. And, it's like, I've worked with like a lot of different Steadicam guys out here, and there's a couple that I've stuck with for certain types of music videos, because some Steadicam operators that you work with on like a narrative, like short film, it's usually it's smooth. It's kind of like, okay, the character's here, let me go here. The music video, sometimes I'm just like, hey man, like, just give me something nice. Like, I'll like kind of direct them a little bit, like over a walkie-talkie when we're shooting, just to give some direction. But sometimes it's just like, sometimes when there's Steadicam on like a YG video or Mozzie video, sometimes I'm like, yeah, man, great. I just kind of sit back and watch and let him do his thing, Spin the Steadicam like 360 degrees around and we're good. But no, yeah, I think movement is like it's really important. And especially with a lot of these videos, they're fast, they're cutty. We're not, they're not very slow paced songs in general. So it's all about that. And then, yeah, again, off of that, mixed formatting. I mean, that's definitely, it's somewhat trending. I think it's a little bit, it's very, very much like past the trend, I feel like, of this whole mixed formatting thing, where film was huge, like starting in 2018. There was a big push towards like analog. And I think that it was different. There's a lot of filmmaking trends, which is funny because it's such a small group of people actually care about them. Like we talk about these trends like, oh, I hate seeing a stereotubes in the frame. When at the end of the day, no one really cares. People who are watching it don't even notice it. Like, exactly, yeah. They're just like, neon lights, that's cool. Like, oh, this feels really nostalgic. And it's like, so they don't really know what's on film and what's not. But regardless, the mixed formatting is fun, because it gives you an opportunity to, try out new mediums, and kind of like press certain boundaries of like, whether it's like shooting on like mini DV cam, shooting on mixing 8mm, 16, mixing in stills. I think there's a lot of interesting stills techniques you can do. This one director I've worked with a couple of times, his name is David Camarina. He goes by DCam. He's done some big videos. He is like the god of like mixed formatting. Like he knows how to mix, like, he knows like when to bring in like more like VHS footage. And he has some really great ideas in terms of like using stills, almost like stop motion with a certain person in a scene to sort of like add a little beat or a moment here, at certain parts in the video. And I think for me, with videos that are, it's kind of just like visuals. It's kind of aesthetic. It's mostly performance. It's very performance heavy. People are just looking for ways to make it interesting, and that's usually one of the ways. People, I'm sure you talk about, oh yeah, we want to add a nostalgic, aesthetic feeling to it. And it's like, I don't know, it's just kind of like getting more footage on a different thing to add better to the edit. I don't know. Like you can justify it in certain ways, but yeah. So, I think it's just one of the many techniques people are using nowadays to spice up these like kind of like performance videos essentially. So
I'm definitely curious about like how you approach ideas of like making a music video and like how you bring those ideas and how you bring it to life. Like,
yeah, that's a great question. I think that's probably, for people who are making music videos, probably the biggest question, because you get a wide range of ideas, like some directors I see their work and I'm just like blown away every time by like their ability to create really interesting stories or visuals, or like, creating really interesting just visual aesthetics with music videos, whether it's like happy, fun, dark, light, hard, like that's interesting to see what people can create. And I think like everyone is different in this sense, I think, when it comes to ideas. And that's what the most interesting part about like art in general, music in general, film in general, is that it doesn't matter how you do it. No one cares how you get to the final product, as long as the final product is effective in some way, as long as, whether being effective means making someone really engage with the music, making someone understand the storytelling of the lyrics, whether that's promoting some sort of aesthetic or promoting some sort of like brand of an artist, like Lil Uzi Vert, for example. You watch any of his music videos and you're just kind of like, that was weird. Like, I don't like, it's not like amazing, but like it's very unique. You're like, interesting. So like for me, that's effective. It may not be like, not all of it is like all tough or like incredibly gorgeously artistically beautiful. But like you got like weird like subtitles like on the video in Arabic while he's out on like a purple light on like a VHS camera. Like, what was that? Like that was weird. But it's all like, it's effective. So I think for me, the idea process is unique to me in that I just have a bunch of ideas over the years that I've been just in the notes app, oh man, that'd be so crazy to have a music video that's all in this like aspect ratio. And then it just goes in the bank, and then I wait for the right moment to kind of bring that out pretty much. I still have a ton of ideas, and I'm kind of waiting for the right opportunity to use them on. And also as a DP, I'm working a lot. I work with a lot of other people's ideas, and it is kind of my job to, usually with music videos, they give me the base, they give me kind of like the core of what we're shooting, whether that's like, oh, it's a bank robbery, oh, it's we want to make like an action, like an action film, kind of like that's like the narrative. So usually we start with like that core. When I'm working with another director, and I'll kind of like, oh, okay, if you want that, what if we add in this aspect, like what if we shoot an anamorphic, what if we shoot in black and white, or like, oh, if you want like a chase sequence, these are the building blocks to get there. So, I am adding a lot of input in that sense, but I learn a lot from those videos about like understanding, where to put the value in the video. I think because all the times I'm working on super low budget, and understanding like that, you can get a whole lot of quality out of a video if you put the money in the right place, because sometimes people are spending $10,000 on a location, $10,000 on a car or whatever. And it's just like, what does that even, we didn't even shoot the car. Like, why do we waste our money on this? So I think I've learned a lot from other directors about what not to do, about what's like, interesting. And also I think it's just a lot of like personal taste over the years of like things I picked up or things I'd like to see myself like out in the world. And then secondly, I think the other inspiration comes from the songs themselves. Some songs I heard it and I'm like, there it is, boom, there it is, Some not so much. Sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle where you're just like waiting to be inspired by the music itself. Sometimes that might not happen. it's kind of, those are interesting because you kind of see how the idea of what you got this idea in your head and you're like, all right, cool, I want to make this. And then watching the process of it actually being made is interesting because sometimes it usually ends up, being not what you expected. And I think that's the kind of like the beauty of filmmaking is you got to know that you make a film like 3 times, when you think of it, when you shoot it, and when you edit it, it's kind of like, it's going to go through so much. And I think it also talent, growing your talent is kind of about like being more effective at like taking the thing that's in your head and then actually basically translating that out and actually capturing that. I think that's kind of like, that's how you can kind of like maybe measure your growth is how close those things get. But
yeah. And I think you do a pretty good job of that. As just watching from somebody who's like you're the creative visionary, and you're telling me this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want you to do, whether it be in Steadicam or whatever it is. Like I think you do a really good of communicating that. Where I feel like
thanks, man.
Other people could, it's just almost
Appreciate
like a guessing game,
Yeah, like you're unsure, like.
but you, I think with you, it's always like it's okay,
very clear,
very very clear. So I think you do a very good job of that.
I've met usually that for me. What I see the most in new directors is they just don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. Like plain and simple. They may have a cool idea, but when they get on set, they're like freezers, You're like waiting for them to like take charge, and it doesn't happen. And I think for me, a lot of my frustration in music videos, particularly rap, hip hop music videos, has pretty much been that. It's been taking on so much of the weight of the video. Honestly, I wouldn't say this to these people, but I do feel like sometimes I'm basically directing it. Like, and it's interesting. It's interesting seeing certain people get certain opportunities, and continue to get these opportunities when I'm just like, damn, you are not qualified. Like,
well, I actually think that's almost like a burden of people who are like gifted communicators, so people who can actually see like how to communicate well, people who are able to connect those dots, like for whatever reason they know where to, it's because they know where the faults lie almost. Like I think you're very whereas people who don't know what they're doing, they're just kind of going off of just like I don't know, like sheer ignorance, and almost like it's a beautiful thing because I'm sure like we want to feel that way also, but it's just like I feel like a lot of the burden of those people, and when they don't realize it, is like the good communicators are the one that's picking up and picking up their slack without even probably necessarily telling them that they're doing it.
Because, definitely. There's always going to be a lot of slack. There's always going to be stuff that like, and I think that's interesting too, is when you get into film, the deeper you get, it becomes like, the more you get paid, the less work you do sometimes, honestly, which is funny, but like, the departments become more clear, you start getting people who are like very specifically doing a very specific task on set or in prep. And it's very interesting to see that dynamic, because sometimes like you feel like, oh, I shouldn't worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. It's not my problem. But sometimes like I think that's kind of like the difference between somebody who's just kind of getting a check and someone who does want to, lift people up around them.
Yeah.
This applies to art in general. Sometimes you're just kind of, you can do the bare minimum. It's not my job, like, whatever. But sometimes you just got to kind of like buck up, and you just got to be like, sometimes you got to, if you see slack, just pick it, kind of help pick it up. It's going to help everybody do their jobs better, even if they, don't deserve it. But
absolutely.
that'll happen sometimes, like where you got to realize, you got to know when and where to kind of like take charge a little bit, or push things in a certain direction and help guide things. And I think for me, that's what I've done a lot of that. I shoot with a lot of, newer directors. There's a lot of guidance in it for sure. But that's what, I have really good relationships with those people because of that, because they trust me and they know that I can help, help them where they need it.
Do you think, obviously it's kind of, it gets to be a toll, definitely, but do you feel like that's almost in a way kind of strengthen your ability to direct, to be put in those positions where you actually are kind of like the director in these things?
It definitely does. Like it's taught me like the workflow of directing. It's taught me like the complicated like machine that it is. And it's just kind of like, I think a lot, especially with labels, that's not something I've dealt with very much. I don't know if it's something I ever will want to deal with, really. But it's that part is definitely the most interesting part, where you're kind of answering to a boss, where they do have a say when you're on set, and they're like, oh, what is this? This isn't what we talked about. And, then you got to be like, you got to answer to them. You can't just be like, well, like, no, like, this is. And they're like, no, it isn't. It's too dark. Or, So you got to be prepared for those situations too. And that's definitely something I like to not have to deal with as like a DP on set. Just because I know that's probably one of the more stressful parts, is like answering to a label or like management or something. Because, man, I've met some interesting management, dude. Momagers, oh man, momagers are the worst. But yeah,
momagers, I like that.
Dude, don't get me started on momagers, man. I've met a handful. Which is
give it to us.
I definitely want to know more about that.
Yes.
So you don't need to name names,
especially and I'll pin it this way. Especially, I feel like a lot of people probably going to listen to this podcast are not necessarily going to be from LA. They're probably going to be from the Lynn, Boston area. And they're probably going to be people who aspire to be, a cinematographer in LA or shooting music videos in LA. So this is definitely a good conversation to have about, what the actual reality. I feel like this has been a great conversation in general, but the momagers thing, I definitely want to hear more about. I'm sure people do too.
So, yeah, it's Los Angeles. You know what I mean? And like, I meet a lot of people who are from Los Angeles. And if you're from Los Angeles, you go to high school here, bro. Like, everyone's a musician. Everyone wants to be a pop star. Everyone wants to be a rapper. And so, if they're from here, but obviously, most of the time their parents are here. The parents are in some way supporting them. And if their parents are already in entertainment, oh man, dude, they're just like controlling their lives. I've met like once a month, I probably work with a momager, and it's just so interesting because it's so frustrating, because a lot of times they're telling you to do things when like when you're just like, wait, what? Why? Like they'll tell you to do like very interesting things where it's almost like someone tells you how to do something instead of telling you what they want. And then you end up doing it how they end up doing what they told you. Like, oh, you wanted that? I would have done this totally differently. Like if you would have told me that, I would have done it so different from the beginning. So a lot of situations like that where they're just really demanding. They're very micromanaging. And sometimes you feel like you can't breathe because you're like over your shoulder this whole time. And I think it just comes from, you get a lot of people who think they know what they're talking about, when in reality they really do not.
I'm sure
that also applies to labels. Yeah. That applies to a lot of different sides of the business, where people are imposing their opinions pretty heavily, when sometimes you really should just not listen to them. Like sometimes you just be like, oh, word, yeah, and just not do it. Like, that's a part of the thing, is like you got to learn to deal with a lot of different types of people. I think I'm a bit of a chameleon in that sense, like socially. So I think that sometimes you just gotta nod your head. You may not have to agree with them, but sometimes you just gotta like shoulder it and just take it and move on. That's definitely what I've learned is I'm a little jaded by the music video industry, if you can't tell. But that's why I'm trying to be a little more selective with the work I'm doing there, just because I've paid my dues in that sense. I'm like, I'm good. I'm all set. But yeah, I would say that,
I'm glad we're getting this perspective though, because like honestly, like think about it, like before you went out to LA, like I'm sure you've had this conversation just because you're in the know, so I'm sure people have had these conversations with you. But it's one thing when you're there, I'm sure. Obviously I'm not there with you, but like it's one thing when you're there. It's another thing when you're here, dreaming about what it is like to be over there. So I'm sure people don't hear these conversations often,
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like you think you have an idea of it before you get there, of what it might be like. But once you've gone through it, you're just like, wow, like, it's just learning a very specific niche of the industry, I think, is interesting, and like learning the intricacies of it, learning what it really means. And I think actually here's a valuable lesson that I've learned. And I see time and time again, people kind of faltering with. A lot of the times, in the beginning when I wasn't shooting a lot of rap videos, and I started getting into it more. I got a couple opportunities with some cool directors that I've been wanting to work with for music videos. They were all very last minute, and I was like, you know, I was big on prep. You know, I had worked in short films, commercials, documentaries. You know, I'm about building pitch decks, references, you know, making shot lists, all this intricate stuff. You know, for me, it's kind of like, and also the thing I've learned, sometimes what separates you from every other video out there, you know, from not making it just some boring performance video that just like is just nothing, and there's nothing unique. It's kind of prep. It's just like having, you know, hammering out a very specific vision and idea ahead of time, knowing what you're going to do, you know, putting in that work and prep to make it a little bit greater than it can be. For me, that makes a huge difference in a lot of work, is like, you know, because really one thing I didn't learn is that you have to be so flexible. You have to show up on set, and like, this goes against what I was saying before, but you have to be ready to throw out every idea. Like, you have to be ready to, if the artist is like, yo, let's shoot this right now, you just got to be ready for that. You just got to be ready for like, oh, you know, who just pulled up? Who just pulled up? Oh, we got to film with them like right now, you know? I think I've seen with some new time directors who are working with artists, you know, that may not care so much about their music videos, that may not care so much about like the actual, you know, it's just performance video. Mm-hmm. Is that they went into it being like, all right, shot 1A, we're going to be right here. We're going to do this dolly move in like this, and it's going to be this frame, just like that. And then they show up on set, and that is not what's going on. The artist is like not down with it. They're like, no, let's just like, come on, let's go. Like, what are we waiting on? So it's like, you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready for like throwing out a bit of your heart, your soul. And sometimes you just gotta be down for, you have to go with the flow a lot. Yeah. You got to be ready to go with the flow. And the thing is, you know, detecting, you got to be able to kind of detect what kind of video something is going to be, and sense out like, all right, is this where I kind of put my foot down? Am I going to say like, hey man, this is not what we talked about? Or it's just like, all right, cool man, sounds good. Let's go, let's do it. And I think that also goes back to communication, knowing along the line how that's going to work, and stuff like that, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like switching a battery, and like the artist is kind of pissed, like what are we waiting on? Or like switching a lens, and I'm like, fuck, like come on, hurry, put that lens in, you know, stuff like that. So I think, yeah, like if you're coming out here and you're going to shoot music videos, you're going to direct music videos, understand your artist, understand what they want. You know, if it's something that like they have this idea, they brought it to you, you guys have planned it out. Obviously that's going to be more specific, but I think if you're a director, you got to really like set your rules. You know, if you've never talked with the artist until they show up on set, you got to know what the vibe is. Like, mm-hmm. You know, if they're like, you know, there's like some tiny video to them, like you got to realize that they don't care about you, and they're going to move on to the next thing as soon as they can. So I think that's one thing I've learned. I hear a lot of people like not getting any more jobs from certain people because they were too rigid almost, and they didn't realize what kind of video they were shooting, or what kind of video they needed to shoot for them. So I think that's one interesting thing is like, you know, you may lose like that artistic like integrity that you feel like you came into having. And that's what I'm like going back more towards now with other than hip hop videos. Sometimes you may lose a little artistic integrity, but be ready to go with the flow when you're on set sometimes, for sure.
Do you feel like that is like the difference between working with like, you know, I guess a major label type of artist compared to like an indie artist like Space Cadets is like you know, there's a more control aspect of it that, you know, may not be like, you're not going to make the fattest of cash off of, but it's like, there's more, an artistic, enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. And there's different levels to it, because I'll see the same artists have videos that are like, you know, I when I watch them, I can tell they were very planned. And I think the thing is, that's the system you'll start to learn. The difference between like a 10K video, like, you know, a total budget of like 10,000 versus like 50,000. a $10,000 budget video is probably going to be all performance. It's probably going to be like a 1-day shoot. It's going to be like a tiny crew. The artist is probably going to pull up with their entourage in like a Lambo truck, and like they'll be there for 5 hours, and you have to get whatever you can get in those 5 hours, and hope for the best. But then you get like these, but then that same artist will have a $50,000 video, and it'll be really cool. Like it'll be very like elaborate, intricate. Like they're like hitting at some bigger ideas. Maybe, you know, maybe it's mostly like dancing, like, you know, whatever, like cars and all that stuff. And like, you know, a bunch of crazy shit like that. Maybe it's a little more artistic than that. It feels like it's more planned. I think that comes down to the label too. And like, there's a difference between like the artist pulling up and just chilling and you shooting with them, and then artists pulling up, going to their trailer and being called to set at a specific time, you know? So there's different parts to it for sure. And I think that like, you do get people creating some beautiful work in music videos at a very high level. You know, like I think one person for me, I think that I would love to know more about his process is like Dexter Navy. You know, his music videos are always like, visually, they're usually like very, very fresh, very like out of this world kind of, and whether that be very performance heavy, whether it be a little more abstract visually, or whether there's more like a narrative to it, you know, whether it's like The Kids Are All Right, by A$AP Rocky. You know, that's a beautiful video that has like this, it's not like a very specific narrative following one character, but it's just like you understand the story he's telling about like, with a carefree look into people's like lives and living freely in a way. But it's so beautiful how it's told, you know. And I love seeing stuff like that because I just want to know how, like, obviously a lot of the times it's usually artists who you know, have a deep care, you know, about their visuals, about like, you know, they know that like they put a lot of their time and effort and passion into the visuals, like music videos, stuff like that, or so on and so forth. And that relationship with that director, I think, is usually how those beautiful things, like amazing creations, happen. You know, so I think, yeah, there's a wide range of like different levels of videos that you'll get, and you just got to know which way to go on them. Kind of interesting.
You mentioned that you're like sort of like trying to pivot away from music videos.
Yeah.
What sort of other kinds of projects are you like trying to work on? So
I do, my main goal is to shoot feature narratives, which is, you know, full length theatrical releases, films, you know, narratives, dramas, stuff like that. I'm actually shooting one in June coming up. It's my first feature narrative, and it's all on film. We're shooting in Utah. You know, it's the script is incredible. The crew is incredible. And it's just like, you know, I'm basically putting like all my heart and soul into that right now, pretty much. And I think like I enjoy music videos to a certain degree. I enjoy when something is being created that I feel passionate about, or I feel it inspires me visually, or I feel is not hollow, because I shoot a lot of stuff where I'm just like, what is this? Like, you know, like I can't tell you how many times I've been like behind the camera and like took a step out of my body and was just like, where am I? Like, what am I doing? You know, like, what is this? Oh man, hold on. I'm trying to think how much detail I should.
Yeah, filter out what you need to, and then tell us the story. Yeah.
Yeah, you can like leave out names if you need to.
Exactly. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I'll leave out names. And honestly,
exactly.
this is work I'm not even posting. I was shooting this dope, like it was actually kind of a dope video. Like things were kind of coming out how they were, you know, how I wanted them to. Working with somebody new I hadn't worked with, who I'd been wanting to work with for a while. And I was excited. I was busy, so I was kind of like I hadn't done my prep work for the video yet, and I was sitting down like, all right, cool, let's check out the treatment real quick, check out the song. And it's a cool treatment. And then I played the song, and I was like, how young is this rapper? He's 12. He was. Maybe he's 13. I can't remember his age. He was like 12 or 13. And there I am, like a week later, shooting this. Like I'm in front of this like this little kid with like a giant chain, like rapping. And like he's good, you know. He's honestly kind of he's cool. Like he's like dope. Like I'm like, you're pretty dope for like a 12-year-old, you know, like
like way cooler than I was when I was 13, dude, probably.
Like way smoother than I was. And like
he's got like 27-year-old girlfriends. You know?
This detail will probably reveal the video, but I don't think it will ever connect. But I remember like sitting in front of 2 Rolls-Royce SUVs, like all whited out, like brand new, like 6 or 7 girls dancing, and there's this like prepubescent rapper with like a giant chain, and I'm just like filming it on like this 8mm like Nikon fisheye, and I'm just like, this looks sick, but like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? So I've had a lot of moments like that where I don't feel fulfilled, you know?
Yeah.
And that happened for a while. Like, you know, sometimes I you know, if it's someone who has a bigger name and the video is kind of like so, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm glad I got that person on my resume, like that name on my resume or whatever. Or, you know, sometimes there is satisfaction in a music video, even if I'm not like super passionate about it, and just being like, hey, this is our goal and vision. And like, if sometimes you execute that well and you're like, well, I did we kind of did what we set out to do. That's also, I think, fulfilling in a sense. But I'm just trying to move out of it. I'm just trying to be more selective. I feel way less of a push to say yes to everything that comes my way. Unless I like it. Like I've actually, this has been like the first year where I've said no to a lot of stuff, which is nice. Just because like, it's nice to have a choice, you know, and I think that comes with like not relying on them so much monetarily, you know, to like always be shooting music videos. Now that I have some more projects lined up over the next couple of months that I'm more passionate about. Like I'm shooting 3, the one feature narrative in June, and then I've got 2 short films I'm really passionate about. I've been working on for a long time now, in the 2 months following that. And then I might have another feature back in Ohio that I'm seeing about. So that's what I'm kind of working towards. And one thing also, another, you know, for people who maybe not in LA that want to shoot in LA, is it's crazy how easy it is to become pigeonholed into certain types of videos. And you may end up shooting things that, like, because for me, I like being able to shoot anything. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, do you shoot these kinds of videos? I'm like, yeah, like absolutely. Like I'll shoot anything. You know, I've shot like environmental docs to like product commercials, to like hip hop videos, to like, you know, like weird comedy films, you know. I've like, so I have pride in doing like a huge range of stuff, and I love having that skill. But some people will start to like, they'll only see you as what your work is now, not what you want to do or what you admire. So I think one thing I've started to realize is that it's very easy to get pigeonholed into one type of video, because once, let's say, you know, I shoot a bunch of rap videos, I show a bunch of rap videos. People are like, oh, he shoots rap videos. Then people who shoot rap videos keep hiring me because they see the work, they like it, and they're like, oh, hey man, like I see rap videos. I would love to work with you one day. Or you become in certain circles of people. Like right now I'm working with a lot of music video people because I'm on set with one person, and then maybe another person who directs as well happens to be on set, but they're like PAing that day. But they finally get a budget and like, oh, I'll hit them up. And all of a sudden you start doing more and more and more videos of that one niche that you keep shooting, or you keep showing on your resume and stuff like that. So I think it's important to know how powerful what you show on your portfolio, what you show on your Instagram, what work you post on your website, how that can really start to like put you in a certain direction. So in that sense, I think it's important to show what you want to do. And that, I think I've heard that rule with like making a reel. When people make reels, they say like, show only what you want more of, pretty much. And sometimes I see a lot of people who first come out here, they're just, you know, it's in the beginning. Sometimes you're just like, I need more work. Like, this is all the work I have. Like I have to show all of it. There is that stage for sure. But I think, you know, sort of understand where you want to go, what you like doing. You know, for me, I know some people like make glorified music videos and want to get into that space, but it's one thing to like music videos. It's another thing to like working in music videos. Mm-hmm. And so I think, you know, maybe try to find what you both enjoy the content that gets out of it, what you make, but also the process of doing so. I think that's, you know, find what that is and then sort of like try to aim yourself at that and try to, you know, if you show more of that work, maybe some people who do the same type of work will keep hiring, you know, et cetera. Cause some, you know, and a lot of people like some DPs are like they shoot car commercials. I think that's what they do. Like they're like a car DP. Some are music video DPs, fashion, like, and you know, whole fashion is a whole other thing where you get like fashion DPs, you shoot exclusively fashion and product. And you know, it's crazy. So.
Dope. Well, I mean, I feel like you've given us a lot to chew on, especially in terms of like information about what it's really like working in LA. This next thing I'm about to ask you, I don't know if you can get into. It's one of my favorite stories. I think I asked you this when we shot last year for the Space Cadets. I was like, oh, so how's LA? And you told me this like funny story about a music video that you worked on. It was like this music video that I think like I forgot how long they had been shooting for. Well over, I think 24 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
it's
of that.
So funny.
But I love that example because it's like the sobering, like I'm in LA, like I'm working in film, and you think it's like this like beautiful whatever, like I made it, you know, and then you get thrust into like what it looks like. So I don't know how much of that story you can tell, but
no, it's so funny because I was at a party last night.
Yeah.
The person that is the connection that created this was the generator of the catalyst of the story. Was there last night. I haven't seen her since this happened. And we were recounting it, so it's funny that you mentioned it. But basically, it was 2019. I was at a party on Valentine's Day with a bunch of my friends. It was like the people I knew in LA. It's like 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. You know, like I'm close to being ready to go home. Like I've had a full day. I'm tired. I might have worked that day. I can't remember. But I know that I'm like, it's been a day. I'm like gonna go home. I'm walking out. You know, I'm about to drive home, and one of my friends, she's like, "Oh man, I just got offered this job. Like, I do not want to take it right now. Like, I am not ready for this. It's like 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. It's ridiculous. Like, she's like, oh, it's literally down the street. We're like in Koreatown. I think it was like downtown or something. She's like, oh, it's like down the street. Like, you know, you don't have to take it, dude. But it was a good rate. I think it was like $300 for 6 hours. You know, for me then $300 for a day was pretty good for anything. And so I was like, oh, 6 hours, like sick. And she was like, oh yeah, you're just helping them rap out. I was like, oh, cool. I'm just like 6 hours rapping, honestly, rapping some cable, meet some people, you know, I was just kind of like, you know, I was like, why not? I'm not doing anything tomorrow. And then when I first got out here, it was definitely a thing of like, take any opportunity that came my way. And any money that came my way as well. But, and so I went there and I'm driving there and then I show up and I didn't realize that my demise was to be foreshadowed in my life. I was shooting it. So there's this place called Studio 60. Studio 60 is quintessential to your music video shooting experience in Los Angeles because it is a place where you just go to like just be abused on music videos. For some reason, whenever, not always, and I know the guys that own it, they're great. Shout out Nate at Studio 60. But no, it's a huge warehouse, enormous. It's you get there and it's awesome. Like you realize why people shoot there so much because like the Kanye West Runaway, like that was shot there. Like, you know, you go there and you see all the artists that have been shot there. Like, I mean, name an artist they've shot at Studio 60. You know, and it's a huge warehouse for cars, props, green screens, white Sykes. And it's in an area that's very low key. There's like almost like no rules. It's like a blank canvas, you know, it's a great place. And I had shot a video there, 2 days ago. I was there 2 days ago and we were wrapping up the shoot at night. And I peek into one of the other rooms and I see like a huge set build going on, like it was interesting because it was only carpenters, you know, like set carpenters and set builders. It wasn't no cameras or nothing. And so I kind of Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And then I come back 2 days later, there I am at Studio 60, and I'm like, wait a second, that set they were building is the one I'm about to work on now. And then I realize, and I get on set, and I'm like, I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of like, hyper up. And like, I finally meet my contact, who was like a production coordinator, I think. And, oh, hey, oh, Jake, oh, Abby's friend, oh, cool. And I'm just like, yeah, what do you need? Like, I'm here to rap out, And she's on like hour 18 in this music video. Like, she's dying inside. Like, I'm like, one up like super chipper, like smile on my face. And I remember someone was like, "You're not from here, are you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm from Ohio." And everyone was so salty, bro. And basically what happened is I ended up working, I was an art PA on, I was like, they were not rapping out. They were not at all close to rapping. I was on set for a full 12 hours after that moment. So I was up until I think it was like 2 p.m. Working on this job, which it was a Nicki Minaj video. It was a Nicki Minaj video. It was Megatron is what the song was called. You go watch it and see all the places I painted. But I was expecting to like wrap cable or something. I thought it was like a grip and electric job. And I was like, there I was painting, like moving this hot tub that, like, by the way, which is the craziest part. This shows, how music videos kind of work. Basically, someone on the management team was probably like, yo, like, we should get there should be a hot tub on the set. Like, I think it was just gonna be some like normal dance thing, like, yo, no, we need a hot tub. And so the production company is like, oh crap, we gotta appease to their every want and need, because if we don't appease to their wants and needs, they'll just forget about us, fire us, and go on to the next production company. Because if it's a big name artist, like they'll bend over backwards for them. They sent out a PA with an empty, like they rented a truck, empty truck. PA goes out, buys a hot tub off of Craigslist. Within 5 hours, goes and drives to the west side by the beach, picks it up, puts it in the car, or in the truck, brings it back to Studio 60 in time for us to shoot with it. Then we realize, like, oh, it doesn't really work. And like, we have to fill it up with like hose water. And so it's like, and we move it on there, and it sucks because I'm painting the set that it's going on, and they keep like moving the hot tub. And so it keeps leaving marks and like water stains. I'm like, I gotta repaint it again. Come on guys, And then the water was like ice cold. Like, it's a hot tub, but it doesn't work. So like, it didn't really work. So she didn't actually get in the hot tub, And so, and we had to like warm it up. Like, we're literally like putting heaters right here. We had, this is so dangerous. We had like hair dryers. We're literally like sitting by the water, hair drying it nonstop.
Hair drying water.
And I was just like, this is absurd.
God forbid you like dropped it into the thing.
I was like, this is like not safe. Like, I should like, yeah, because if I drop this, I'm like, I'm done. Like, and it just goes to show. And I remember like, it was just an enormous set, and it was so interesting to see at the highest level. I'm talking like, they have Techno Crane, they've got like Fisher Dolly, they've got like at least four people on grip and 4 people on electric, like Union ACs, 2 cameras. The DP is like got gray hair, like, and it's just crazy to see how unorganized it will be even at the highest level, and to see how like crazy it'll be. And there's a lot of videos like that I think people will, if you come out here and do it, you're going to be on some videos where you're going to get your butt kicked, and you're just grinding. Like, you go home and you feel like crap afterwards. Yeah, that video, it's interesting to see like I wouldn't call it negligence, but just like the lack of planning. Because I remember I was on set for another 12 hours, right? I'm showing up, and it's like, I can't remember what hour it was. It was like hour 20 for a lot of these people. The person that I was with, who I stayed on set with the whole time, she was like the art production coordinator specifically for art team. The set builders came back in and they broke down the set. It's a huge, huge build. It's almost like a 2-story building that they've made out of wood. And so they're axing it and like tearing it down and everything. And while that's happening, they had these 2 little pools they built like out of 2x4s that are probably like this deep, but it's filled with water. And they did not plan a way to get the water out. It was just kind of like, here, me, like some random kid, who does not work in production design. We're just kind of like given the task of like getting rid of the water, and like there's no plan. And like, so one of the set builders comes over with like an axe and like axes the side and like opens it up, and the water just goes like everywhere, all over the set. And it's like a warehouse. It's like a warehouse floor. It's like an open room, and it's huge. It feels like you're in an aircraft hangar. Like it's massive. Somehow, bro, we filled that thing up with like an inch of water everywhere. And, it's funny because like, it's not my fault that I have to do this, but like the studio manager is like, what the hell? What are you guys doing? Like what? And so it was crazy. Like the production coordinator I was with, who was the art team, she was the only one helping me like get rid of all this stuff. That clearly was like a whole another day's worth of like rental rates and the studio and like an art team. She was on set for 32 hours straight.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Which like, she's making bank. She's making like 2 months rent off that one day. But like, honestly, after the 24th hour, which is absurd with it, like 16 hours is like, for me, that's usually where shit, it just gets negligent, I think, in terms of like hours. Mm-hmm. Obviously you're getting a great rate. It's triple hourly, which is insane. Call that golden hour or golden time. But like 32 hours, man, you're like delirious. You're like borderline delirious.
Exactly, and that's where these accidents happen. People driving home from set and fucking like drunk driving.
Oh yeah.
Fucking, yeah. It's the You're 32 hours of no sleep, man. Yeah. It's not safe.
Yeah, that's when you like you go sleep in your car for like an hour.
Seriously, yeah, exactly.
You see some crazy stuff, man. You'll do overnights. So many overnight shoots for music videos.
In Mass, I'm not sure if it's if they probably do that in LA for Union, but like over here, like after a certain amount, like they have to give you a hotel room to sleep in.
Yeah. I think there's that, and then there's also a lot of the times where things get really risky is when you work long hours, far away from home, so to say. There's something called the zone. The zone is basically I think it's like a 30-mile radius of the center of LA. And if you exit that zone, basically your day starts when you get out of that zone, like your hours. And also like that's when you can get gas mileage reimbursed because it's out of the zone. And if you're out of the zone and like I think you go up to 16 hours, they legally have to give you a hotel. Just because like there've been plenty of people who have died driving home late at night after a long day. And just crashing, just falling asleep at the wheel and crashing into a tree and then done. Just because they worked so long.
What could be worse? What could be worse than working 32 hours on a Nicki Minaj video and then crashing on your way home after trying to get some fucking sleep? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Not a great way of dying.
Dude, I'd rather like
all excited about your OT. You're like, I got 2 months right. I'm good. I got
money.
Right over a fucking cliff,
Yeah.
So.
That is truly a tragic death, I think. That is an absolutely tragic death.
But
I hope there's nothing about Nicki Minaj in the obituary.
Is this the ad for Megatron? Like, check out Megatron. It was the last thing this person worked on. Commemorate.
Link in bio. Link in bio.
Yo, Jake, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was good shooting the shit.
Absolutely.
I definitely, I'll hit you up. I mean, obviously things are open now. I think we're just past COVID, so hopefully I'll be LA, at some point this year, but I'll definitely hit you up over there.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. If y'all fuck with us, if you appreciate what we do, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it out. Definitely support
that
me.
Like button.
Smash the like button.
Destroy it.
Follow Jake Mitchell. He's got the Instagram account. Is it Jake L Mitchell?
Yep, Jake L Mitchell. Jake, middle name L Mitchell. It's on my Instagram's my main thing, and then my website is also jakelmitchell.com.
Cool.
Dope. All right, y'all. Take care.
Thank you guys. It's been great.
Yo, thank you, man.
Thank you.